We welcome our visitors today. I know that there are several here, so would you raise your hand if this is the first time that you have attended our meeting? Terrific. Okay. We do have, that's right. We do have a membership form in the middle of your table. If you would like to complete that, we'll be glad to add you to our membership list. And also, if you would just take a minute and sign the yellow form in the middle of your table. That's a sign-in. And also, there's a goldenrod survey. If you would complete that by the end of the meeting and just leave it on your table. This way, we can get a good idea of what we can do to improve our meeting. Today, we have our champion of character, Margaret Rangel. Margaret, would you like to come forward? City manager, Barry Feaker, from the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office, Acree, Michelle Voth, and Ron Brown.
All right. Well, I am so privileged today to recognize Margaret Rangel for the tremendous act of heroism that she performed. She is very dedicated to her family, and I think this is evidence of that. So, Margaret, we would like to present you the Kansas Character Recognition Council of Topeka, the champion of character for this month, and it reads as follows. As the strength of our nation is dependent upon the health and safety of its communities, the strength of our community is dependent upon the character of its citizens. Topeka City of Character and Safe Streets Coalition of Topeka and Shawnee County recognize Margaret Rangel. On June 4th, 2019, in the early morning hours at about 3:45 a.m., Margaret woke up and noticed a bright orange light and realized that the house was on fire. She rescued her 4-year-old twin grandchildren through the back patio door. She was able to call 911 and keep the children calm. For doing this, we present this to you for demonstrating attentiveness, initiative, responsibility, and wisdom. So it's with my pleasure that I present to you the champion of character for this month.
I feel real honored that I was nominated for this award. I don't feel like I deserve it. It would be anything, a grandmother would do to rescue their, to save their grandbabies. But I just want to thank you again. And I would like to also thank the EMTs that day that came. They were real good with the twins. Sometimes the twins can be a little wild, but they were real calm that day. And I just appreciate the firemen and all the ones that came to help us at that time, and the neighbors also. Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Margaret. We have just a little bit of business to take care of. The June minutes were mailed out to you and also are on your table. I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Okay. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The minutes are approved. I want to do some information here on the upcoming meetings. We do have the retailers meeting on August 14th, and we also have the IFO on August 15th. As you all know, this is National Night Out Week. Monday, Doug Brown from WIVW and also KSNT were in our parking lot. We had 2 semis there. One was from Frito-Lay and the other was from Dillon's. So they got to see firsthand of what it was like on pickup day. The kickoff party this year will be on Friday, August the 9th. It will be at 5:30 to 7:30 at the Hy-Vee on 29th and Wanamaker. On Saturday, there'll be about 80 NNO events taking place all through Topeka and Shawnee County. It's not too late to register your neighborhood, so you can call us at 266-4606. You can email jwilson@safestreets.org or stop by our office at 2209 Southwest 29th, and we'll be glad to help you. Today, we have several neighborhoods who will be holding events, and we would like for them to stand and be recognized. Would you stand, please? All those that are involved in their event. Okay, some more? Okay, thank you. We have Nikki Roberts with Fox Ridge, Jim Winslow from McClure Court, Mark Mueller from Sterling Chase, Peggy Lewis from Central Highland Park, Irma Forbes, Highland Acres, Jerry Parnell from Tecumseh South, Tammy Shirey from the Pines Apartments, Shannon Keys from Tennessee Town NIA, Steve Christenberry from Barryton, Don Downing from Ward Mead, Glenn Ferris from Soldier Creek North Kansas Avenue, and Benny Davis will be Central Park, Mary Bechtel from Lake Shore Estates, and Janet Fisher from North Topeka West. Did I miss anyone? No? Got them all. Okay. We do want to recognize our sponsors for National Night Out. We have the Topeka Police Department, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office, Shawnee County District Attorney, Topeka Fire Department, Kansas Highway Patrol. We also would like to thank our sponsors who provide monetary donations, and this helps all of the neighborhoods to receive a stipend. Westar Energy, Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, Shawnee County District Attorney, Clayton Wealth Partners, Federal Home Loan Bank, Core First Bank and Trust, and Walmart. And this gives the stipends to the neighborhoods $50 if they have under 100 people, and $100 if there's over 100 people attending. Also, Dillon's gives us a $10 gift card for each neighborhood. We have other partners as well that we want to recognize. One is Alpha Media. Alpha Media will be doing the kickoff party, and also they are very helpful in all of the advertising. Reese's Fine Foods will be giving side dishes to every neighborhood. Hy-Vee, free hot dogs and hot dog buns. Topeka Metro will have 7 buses out in the neighborhoods and 1 VIP bus. We were talking about Dillon's. Dillon's has been very helpful this year. They've also given us a monetary donation as well as having the semi in our lot with 675 cases of water on it. And we had 20 volunteers from Dillon's that helped us throughout the day. Frito-Lay was there. Frito-Lay gives us 100 boxes or cases of chips for the neighborhoods. We have a lot of other partners that do in-kind contributions, and that would be Crime Stoppers, Kansas Department of Health and Environment, Spangles, Skateaway, Shawnee County District Attorney, Shawnee County Parks and Recs, and Academy Sports and Outdoors. And of course, we couldn't do this without our media partners, our WIBW and Kansas First News, and also the Topeka Capital Journal. The VIP reception this year will be on Saturday at 5 o'clock, and the reception is coordinated through the Topeka Police Department ambassadors. If you're out and about, you probably have seen the billboards. We have 2 billboards up, and a lot of that is donation from Lamar Advertising. We also have information at the Kansas Expo Center and Capitol Federal. There were 2 planning meetings since our last coalition meeting, and we had 85 at the first one and 105 at the second one. So we had really good attendance, and neighborhoods are really excited about this, and we just want everybody to join us. So we will have a wrap-up session, a celebration after Saturday. It will be on August the 21st, and it'll be at the library at 6:30. So you all are welcome and come and join the celebration. Now, if you're out and about on Saturday and you want to check the schedule, you can go to safestreets.org website, and this will give you the locations and the times. You could start out at 8:30 in the morning. You could go for pancakes, and then you could stop, and you could have an ice cream social about 11, or you might go to a pool party at one of the apartments. That would be till about 2. Then you could go for cookout in the afternoon, and we do have one that's going to have a luau and a pig roast, and then we have one that has an all-night camp out with breakfast the next day. So see, you have a lot of opportunities. And we do want to share, too, that we have had a lot of media opportunities. We've been on the WIBW Ralph Hip Red Couch Show, on the Alpha Media Danielle Norwood Show, and also the KSNT Fox 43, and that was at 6:30 in the morning. So I hope you all have a chance to get out and check all the neighborhoods. Go like us on NNO Topeka Facebook page, and that will give you all the information that you need. And you'll have about probably 7,000 people that have checked already on our NNO Topeka Facebook page. We would like to also tell you that if you have had trouble getting through to us the last few weeks, some of our phone lines are busy all the time, and we've had a little bit of problem with email. So if I have not answered you, email me again. I think it's up and running now. On the substance abuse side, you can turn your page over on your agenda and see that there were several presentations. You know, we do presentations about drug and alcohol. So if your organization would like us to come and do a presentation, just give us a call and we'll be glad to help you. Sergeant Burns, I think he's going to come up and give us the crime stats for today.
All right, I'm Sergeant Burns with the Community Policing Unit. For the City Violent Crime, you'll notice that our homicide, rapes, and business robberies are all down from last year. The community is doing a really good job being prepared and being aware. We'll go to the next slide. Our city property crime, for the most part, is all down in a very large way. Our auto thefts are up just a little bit. Be mindful, don't leave keys in a car, don't leave your car running. Only takes a minute for somebody to jump in and steal your car, and also be aware of who you're loaning your car to. Is there a chance that the person you loan your car to is then going to loan it out to someone else as well? We do see cases of those, and just think twice of who you're going to loan your car out to. Next slide. So we're at the Back to School Health Expo Rebound Physical Therapy, a very good event. We've done it for several years and made some good contacts. Next slide. We did have ice cream with the cops at Dairy Queen 17 in Medford. I believe we had about 300 people come out to that, so a little bigger than we thought it was. There is a second event being planned towards the end of August. It's going to be at the Dairy Queen at 29th in Iowa. Check our social media pages for the exact date. We're just finalizing that. Go to the next slide. And then, of course, the National Night Out Kickoff Party. We will be there at the Hy-Vee, 5:30, 7:30. If you guys have any questions, last-minute questions, come up to us. The entire unit's going to be out there. If you are having problems in your own neighborhood, feel free to grab one of us, and we'll talk to you all night long. And then Saturday, the entire unit's going to be out hitting all the neighborhoods. We are confident we're going to get to every single one. Unfortunately, we can't stay there the entire duration of your guys' event, just due to the amount of block parties we have to get to, but I am confident we will be at every single one. And then the last thing I want to talk about, because we're in August, which means back to school time. So every single year, we always have some phone calls reference missing kids due to bus schedules. If you're a parent and you got a younger child, make sure you know where that bus stop is. Make sure you talk to your kids. Know where their bus stop is, about how long are you on the bus for. Don't get distracted on the bus in the beginning, so you know where are you going to get off? And once you get off on that bus stop, how do you get home? Every single year we get the phone calls that my kid didn't get off the bus. We either find the kid still on the bus at the end of the day, got off at the wrong bus stop, followed their friend Johnny to their house because they got off at the bus stop. We don't mind going to those calls, but it does tie up a lot of resources, a lot of manpower on just something that can have a 5 to 10 minute conversation with our kids just to get them on point, not be distracted on the bus, get that good repetitions in, and then we can cut down on those calls so we can better serve the community.
Thank you so much. Captain Acree, are you going to do the Shauna? Okay. Deputy Shauna Anderson will give us an update from the Sheriff's Office.
Good afternoon. I'm Deputy Shana Anderson with the Sheriff's Office. I'm going to take just a little bit of time to introduce the drone initiative that we have planned at the Sheriff's Office. Since 2017, the Sheriff's Office has seen a 21% increase in crimes involving burglaries, thefts from vehicles, and thefts of motor vehicles. As part of Sheriff Hill's initiative to decrease these burglaries and thefts, the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office is developing a new drone initiative. Drones, officially called Small Unmanned Aircraft Systems, have already been in use at the Sheriff's Office to map crime scenes and to aid in search and rescue efforts. The Sheriff's Office looks to expand the drone program to assist in deterring criminal activity. The drones would be utilized over public roadways and public pathways in neighborhoods that have experienced higher rates of these crimes. They would be flown during peak times of criminal activity based on crime data. We understand that the public might have some questions or concerns regarding what we have planned with this initiative. Therefore, we have set up several public engagement meetings in order to discuss our initiative, answer any questions, and address any concerns the public might have. We invite anybody to come out to these meetings, and we do have 3 scheduled at this time. They will be held on the following dates: August 12th at 6 p.m. at Seaman High School in the choir room, August 19th at 6 p.m. at Shawnee Heights High School and the auditorium, and on August 20th at 6 p.m. at the Tallgrass Education Center, which is located next to Washburn Rural High School. We will also be promoting these dates and putting some information out on social media, so look for that. And like I said, if you or anyone you know has any questions, concerns, come to these public engagement meetings. You'll learn some more information. We'll go into detail a little more about what we have planned and answer any questions and concerns. Thank you.
Barry Feeker will come now and give the Freedom Now USA Discovery Phase Report.
Thank you, Judy. Good afternoon. Well, we've all got some things on our plate right now. I know I do. And I feel like getting a lot of camera time right now. So hi, everybody. So thank you for being here. Just want to give you a little update on the information that you saw that came out in the last couple of days on the rescue mission. Yeah, there are some challenges there. Financial challenges. There's still people being served. We believe that because of the generosity of this community, we're going to be okay. And so that's part of what you're here for, is because you want this community to be okay, and why you're addressing community safety, and why we're also coming together to address this issue of human trafficking. Also, to clarify, Freedom Now USA is a separate organization from Topeka Rescue Mission. So if you're wondering, well, if the rescue mission's got financial challenges, has Freedom Now got the same thing? No, it's a separate staff, it's a separate organization, and everything we've done has really been done pretty much on a tiny thread, because this is a strongly volunteer-led movement. So just wanted you to know that. We appreciate your prayers, and we appreciate all the support and the encouragement that we've received since these announcements have come out about the rescue mission, and thank you for the media's report as well. John Nelson, if you would join me here. This is John Nelson from Morris Nelson and Associates. What we're going to do today is walk through what has happened since we began to come together as an update. So if you look at the screen, So I'm going to do a little bit of this, and John is going to share a few things. But as you all know, the Freedom Now USA effort that is birthed in Topeka, Shawnee County has been established to attack human trafficking. Not sure you can actually see that, but what those boxes will say is the box on the left says that one of our first objectives here was to raise awareness and cast a vision about human trafficking. Not everybody has understood that we actually have human trafficking. I was one of those guys many years ago, didn't know we had it in our community, didn't know we had it in a homeless shelter. And so we had to establish an awareness piece of this. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The biggest thing that we've been doing is that next box to the right is called discovery. We've been in what's called the discovery phase. After we became aware, then we decided to discover what is human trafficking. The next one down in the red there is the action phase, or the action plan, and how we're going to implement doing something. Once you learn something, then you know more. Then you need to do more. And John's going to talk about that a little bit today, of what we have discovered and where we're going from there. Where we're not at is the box on the right at all. That's what we call learn and adapt. The thing about nefarious systems, whatever they are, is that they are strong if they've been around a while, especially when there's money involved. There's a lot of money involved here. And so if we learn something and we counter that system, they learn something and counter our system. So human trafficking will only be eradicated if we're willing to be flexible, to learn and to adapt, and that will come at a later time. So, as you all know, Topeka is our capital city. And in 2018, on February the 1st, we decided to go at the top level of our state. And so we went to the state legislators and we said, we would like for you to take a bold action to declare war on the nefarious systems of human trafficking. And that's a pretty big step. Why did we do it on February 1st of 2018? The purpose of that was National Freedom Day, the same day of the year that Abraham Lincoln signed the papers for the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery in the United States in the year 1865. So 153 years later, our Kansas legislatures in the House in the morning and the Senate in the afternoon took this bold step to say to the rest of the states, Kansas is serious about this. Kansas is very serious about this, but all they can do is pass resolutions until somebody comes along and does the heavy lifting on this. After that, on April the 5th, same year, 2018, last year, our leaders from Topeka City Council, our city manager, our mayor, our county commissioners stood together to make Shawnee County the first county in the United States to declare war on human trafficking. Sometimes we forget about that bold step, but what that did is that set a precedent for our leaders at our state level, our leaders at our community level, to say, we understand that this is serious. The problem is, they can understand it's serious, you and I can understand it's serious, but if we don't have a game plan, what do? It's just serious. Now we're aware, we're becoming aware more and more, but we have to have the game plan. So the Safe Streets Coalition, combining with Freedom Now USA, had a guiding star. That guiding star is one thing: to eradicate human trafficking. Not one element of human trafficking is okay. Not one understanding, not one person who suffers from somebody taking over their life, whether it's sex labor or whether it is labor trafficking or sexual abuse, that's not okay. We said that's not okay as a community. And also we began to understand that this particular problem is intersected with other problems like drugs and crime and gangs and so forth. So if we can attack this, we can attack some other crimes. So the guiding star was to eradicate it. The near star is to create systems that have been discovering how to do that, and to swarm and dismantle the threat network. So I was sitting down with John in this very building here a few months ago, and these are military guys, and so they were talking about when you are walking up close to a beehive and a bee comes out, it's warning you to stay away. It's buzzing around you, and if you don't stop, what's the bee do? The bee stings you. And so if you're smart, you go the other way. But if you're not so smart, you get close to the beehive, they send out some more bees, and eventually they swarm you, and you run like crazy, or they take you down. So that's what we mean by swarming. So if you can think about bees, our job was to create systems to swarm the nefarious activities, the bad guys who are harming people in our own community, and set a precedent to establish a model that we could share with other communities in the state of Kansas and beyond. At the same time we create that network, we craft holistic solutions to protect the vulnerable. And John's going to talk a little bit about this, is what we have put together here, is how do you not only be on the downstream end of helping victims of human trafficking, but how do you go up to protect the vulnerable upstream? How do we get in our schools and work there at the earliest ages and deal with poverty and homelessness and not human trafficking, that's what we're talking about, but to foster care and drug addiction and broken homes and lack of food and all those kind of things. How do we address that at the same time? Otherwise, we're just downstream, and all the traffickers need to know is they got more customers upstream. And so how do we craft holistic solutions to protect the vulnerable? Human trafficking is simply stated the exploitation of vulnerability. The exploitation of vulnerability, and there's lots of vulnerable people in our community. So, the threat network is what we've been discovering right there, right in the middle. And so, historically, what we've expected is law enforcement to go and take it out. It's bad, it's wrong. And so I know when I began to understand what trafficking was, I said, well, that's the police job. They're going to take it out. They're going to understand this. They're going to go after it. They're going to eradicate it. Or maybe they're going to combine themselves with the judicial area. What we found out is that there's very few prosecutions on human trafficking, and there's reasons for that because of, one, understanding of what human trafficking is, and do we really have victims of trafficking that really are trusting us as a community to work with law enforcement and to work with the judicial to be able to testify and survive the testifying to be able to know that they can have a different kind of life. So if you're in a system of human trafficking and that's your only thing that you know, and they're feeding you and they're clothing you and they're pumping you with drugs to help you survive what we have understood could be multiple sexual assaults in a year, maybe as high as 1,825 times. You leave that, where do you go? What do you do? So why should I go and talk to an investigator to say this is what's happening to me in central Topeka or another part of Topeka if I don't know that somebody's going to protect me? And law enforcement can't do all that themselves, and the judicial can't. So why are they going to stand in a witness stand and know their traffickers could be out there and going to say to them or intimidate that if they ever get there that they will not survive that testimony? It's not going to work. So it can't be just law enforcement's job. It can't just be judicial. It has to be more. So this is part of the bees coming out of the hive to go against the network. Behavioral health, we began to learn that 1,825 annual sexual assaults to a person does something to them. One sexual assault does something to them. 1,825 or 2 or 10 or whatever changes the way they perceive their world and their environment. They become into survival mode. It changes their brain shape. It changes their neurobiology, their chemistry, and things happen to them, become drug addicted. Mental health is a huge part of this, and so we began to realize that's part of the swarm. Transportation is part of the swarm. Traffickers transport people in and out of any community, and we need to look at how's that happening. So we engaged the transportation sector. The faith community, a huge part. We have faith community representatives all over our city. How much did they really understand what it is that they see in their neighborhoods or maybe even their own church pews? Government, huge part of this. We already talked about the state level and the county level, but there's multiple forms of government. What's their role in this? What are they seeing? First responders, corrections, education, armed services, health, businesses, neighborhoods, the media, all coming together to swarm the threat. That's the swarm. And that's what's been going on here. But in order for the swarm to effectively know how to do this, we need to discover what it is. We need to have an understanding. And so we have spent the last, youth too. You want to forget them. We have spent the last few months, social services, we spent the last few months doing this timeline. And so we did the awareness piece, and this is the discovery phase. Beginning in January, we began to formulate the sector leader training. And then the sectors, if you're a sector leader or on a sector, through the month of January into April, we were doing working groups. We were doing cross-sector collaboration and understanding what other groups were doing. We began to, then in April through June, uncover the threat network and analyze it and begin to do mapping, systems mapping with the working groups. And so this summer, what we've been doing is we've been strategizing on the analysis of the strategy formula. So again, to put it simply, what you have contributed to this, whatever sector that you represented, you had particular eyes on this from your lens. People in education had eyes on it from an educational standpoint. Business had their eyes from a business standpoint. Transportation and so forth. That's a great value compared to just one or two sectors coming together. That's the unique thing that's going on here. This is something that is very unique apparently to other communities, and they like what they see. And so not only do we feel like this is beneficial for here, but we believe that it's beneficial for others if we're successful. But you can do all the discovery you want. You can say, oh, we got a bigger problem than we thought. But if you don't have an action plan to knock it out, then you have this huge problem. So that's the next step. So what I want to say is that the discovery phase of what we're doing, we came to the awareness phase, the discovery phase is ending. And so we don't have to continue to meet in sectors going forward. Today there will be no sector briefing. The sectors may want to meet together, but we are going to begin then going into the next phase, and on August 22nd, a number of people will be coming together with MNA, Morris Nelson Associates, and we'll begin to really take everything that you provided and show how that they have deciphered it, and that's what John's going to talk about in a minute, and then we will begin looking at the next phase. So all the effort that you've put into this has been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. We would not have been able to get this because you went out and swarmed for information. Now what we need to do is come up with the action plan. And so John will now tell us in a brief what they've learned so far. John?
So, thanks, Barry. So all those meetings that have been happening over the past several months have resulted into two major reports. One was 40 pages, the next one was 60 pages. So for the next few minutes, I'll read to you those 100-page reports. Actually, if you hit the next slide. Okay, this is you. You're the swarm. What we've learned in the last little bit is, besides the fact that we, as Barry indicated, that we have the 20 individual sectors that each bring unique perspectives, that's not the most efficient structure to action the threat. So we're going to reorganize a little bit. We have some ideas that we're passing on to Freedom Now based on what you guys have told us. There is a lot of capabilities that exist in the swarm. We have, as Barry indicated about the lenses through which you look, we like to call them perspectives, but each of those sectors has a unique perspective on the problem. And the only way that I can explain it to you is if you were all to stand 360 degrees around this building and look at the building, you could each draw a portion of it. If you all came together, you could probably create a composite of it. But we do have blind spots. We've also discovered there's numerous important information sources that know particularly about the root causes of victimization. And we need to do a better job of trying to figure out or get information out of those organizations to the best of our ability, but ensuring that we protect the sources of that information. That's the utmost concern for us, is that we protect those individuals that would provide that information in terms of their anonymity. And then we need to also explore the capabilities of external organizations. There is a number of organizations, both regionally and nationally, who bring great capabilities to this particular fight, that we need to do our best to be able to partner with them and leverage them, particularly agencies I can bring off the top of my head like Polaris or the Alliance for Freedom, Restoration, and Justice. Those are two in particular, but there's a number of others. Go ahead, next slide, please. I actually had to put a lot of speaking notes. Oh, you slipped that one in on me, didn't you? I wasn't expecting that one, but that's okay. It sets up the next slide. Do you remember the river graphic? And Barry talked about a little bit ago people entering upstream in the flow and then winding up downstream. This is what we've been talking about for the last couple months. We have been going underneath the water of the river. So let's go to the next slide. You can see the little river there in the background trying to keep that theme going. This is the process that an individual goes through. Now, this is kind of highly simplified. If you were to take a look at the actual process that we've drawn out, somebody once likened it to IKEA instructions. So at one of our meetings. So, is that person here? But we tried to simplify it here to put to the high points of it. It consists of a highly interconnected web of systems. It's an illicit supply and demand. You have supply on the left side, demand on the right side. Supply being vulnerable human beings, demand being those buyers. And shown in the top left, where you have the supply side, neighborhoods in distress exert tremendous amount of pressure on individuals that are living in there and create the conditions, along with cultural dysfunction, that lead to the traumatization of individuals, to make them vulnerable to being victimized. Furthermore, that same cultural dysfunction is what leads, particularly in males, the attitude that buying behavior is okay and acceptable. And ultimately, that buying demand drives our supply. The trafficking process itself, represented in the purple line across the center, consists of victims being recruited, then being moved, being first identified, then being recruited, then being moved, all the while being groomed through a series of rather nefarious acts, as Barry alluded to. Could be drug addiction, could be physical and psychological abuse, all the way through to exploitation. And tied to that, since it is a business, human trafficking is a business that makes a lot of money, it has to be tied to a financial system that includes money laundering. Coalition members from all across the sectors provided the various insights into how the system operates and who the players are, and those insights have led us to create those various representations. We have a more detailed look at the traumatization, of the root causes behind traumatization that you see there in the upper left. We have the details on the geography, how all the places in the system are connected. So how are the various neighborhoods connected with the schools, connected with other counties, connected with businesses that are not the most upstanding, if you will? How's the drug trade in methamphetamine tied to it? So we've mapped that out. And additionally, we've also mapped out the orchestration network, that group of people and organizations that work to control this whole process. To be effective, we got to swarm it from one side of it to the other side of it. We have to swarm effectively all the way from root cause, all the way to the end, to the demand. Let's go ahead to the last slide. If I can get my notes out, keep me on track. This is a subsystem of what that orchestration network looks like, and I recognize that for most of you it's almost impossible to see from where you're at. It's the best I could do to simplify it, believe it or not. But across the very top row, what you're seeing is boxes that represent unaligned pimps, family members, and elite pimps, and a local ring that we have identified that are doing most of the human trafficking in the area, and they're tied to various street gangs. In particular, the Bloods, Crips, and Sur 13 that exist in this town. They're all involved in human trafficking, and they are connected. Then there are some additional gangs, I'll just name them gangs A through D, that are involved both in human and labor trafficking. And then those street gangs are connected, from the best that we were able to determine, to prison gangs. And there's a number of prison gangs that operate within the state of Kansas. Those prison gangs are in turn connected to a network of transnational organized crime, which involves organizations such as the various Mexican drug cartels, or it could be the Chinese triads. But those particular organizations all operate in the network, each influencing one another to various levels of control. So it's a highly complex system, it's a highly complex web, and we have to be able to attack it comprehensively. And those are my key points, sir.
John mentioned gangs A through D. You can't see it very well, but they have names. We decided not to publicize those names because those are actually names of individuals that we don't want to identify right now, but you have helped to identify. That will be not for public consumption, okay? So I just want to pause here before we finish this up. When you've been involved at your level and you went from awareness into your sectors for discovery, some of you probably were very engaged and had those aha moments at one juncture or another. And some of you might have wondered, am I really making a difference? How does it feel to know that we've been able to get that far with this compared to just knowing that it exists? You can answer that or not answer that, but you've participated in a significant discovery here that we didn't have before. And in my involvement, I've heard from multiple sectors in various different capacities that have said, now we're getting it. And then when you network those getting it's together, then you have an opportunity to do something about it. And so just want you to know that your participation in this has helped us to get this far, and that's just a brief summary. And some of you have seen, what do you call those maps? Systems diagrams that are, make you crazy looking at them. But they're in depth. And these guys know how to do all that. And I looked at them, I got dizzy, so I had to sit down. But we got problems here. Every community has problems with this issue. We've got problems. What we're doing is that we're unpacking those problems. And so, any questions for John based upon what you heard here? Yep.
I do want to make one more point. This is what we understand now. When I use the term understand now, it doesn't mean that this is 100% reality. When we started this off a long time ago, I always put a slide up to say, John is wrong. And I could put that slide right up there. This is wrong to some degree, but it's what we currently know. And Barry alluded to the stage in this where we learn and adapt. As we move through the action, we will be able to confirm or deny that some of this map is correct and some of it is wrong. We think most of it's correct based on what we know now. It's a hypothesis, if you will. But as we learn and adapt, we'll adjust it and it will get better over time.
Okay. Again, back to where we've been. Awareness. The big piece of what we've done in this last year plus is discovery. And then the next is, what are we going to do about it? As John has said, we're going to take what we know now. That doesn't mean we're done, but we're going to actually take this information and be able to then take it to the next level of action. That's going to be the hard lifting. That's when, if you spend a lot of time on this, and some of you will say, you know, I've done my part. I want somebody else to go forward. That's okay. The next part is, how are we going to effectively address this? And so on August the 22nd, we will be developing what is called the action plan steps. What we'll do is we'll come back in September and we'll report to you what happened in that meeting. Now, I would love to say that all those action steps are going to be completely understood and that we're going to be on target and that we're going to eradicate human trafficking in the next 24 months. The challenge of this is huge, as you can just know the river, upstream, middle stream, downstream. We got a lot of things to deal with, So again, in summary, this is what we've done. We brought our sectors together through the awareness. We did cross-sector collaboration. We had systems mapping so you would understand what you're doing. And that red box in August is the action planning workshop that will come up just for some people who we believe will be a part of that, not to exclude anybody else, but be a part of that. So, was there a question? Bill.
Barry, how has the dark network adapted? You guys had like an example of, you know, we changed, they changed, we changed, they changed. Something you think of?
So the question is, how's the dark network adapted? I would say, Bill, we don't know that very well right now because they've had the upper hand. And my interpretation, and anybody else can share something different on this, is my interpretation is they haven't worried about us too much. When we begin to effectively action against their plan, then we'll understand better the adaptation. Would you guys share something different on that?
I would agree with that. An example might be that they use one particular location for recruiting or another, and as a result of our actions, they don't. They move to a different location. Or we've identified a particular way that they're able to reach buyers. And in the future, we see that they have changed the way that they're doing their buyers. Or their prices may have changed. Things like, those are kinds of some of the adaptations that we're talking about.
Doc? What adaptations have we seen here locally, right, Bill? Okay, an example of it. Yeah, there are adaptations that occur, but have we seen them here? Thank you, Doc. If you couldn't hear Doc, basically there are known adaptations that occur in multiple arenas. Have we discovered it here yet? No. And I think one of the reasons is we haven't hit the threat hard. We've taken the swarm to be able to get an understanding from various lenses about what it is. That's contributed to our understanding. The action plan will actually attack the threat. That makes sense. And so then we're going to learn a whole lot more about that adaptation. I will say anecdotally that we have seen a whole lot more victims of human trafficking that have come out to the rescue mission, have come out to the YW, have come out to other places. That number has steadily grown. So there is some reason that they are willing to trust Topeka, trust the systems, trust the agencies to be able to come out and say, this is what's happening to me. And there has been some movement from where they said they were trafficked, that there's no trafficking going on there next time. So that could be adaptation, but that may be anecdotal, that's just part of their system. They keep moving around. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So that's where we've been. September, we're going to come back together and we're going to talk about where we go from here. We're going to, in some way, celebrate. Might be cookies. I don't know. It'll be some way so that we can say, congratulations to everybody to get us to this level. This has been no small thing. And then we're going to unpack the action report. It may be just a brief. Where do we go next? We hope that what we will have is some different categories of action. There might be 2 actions, there might be 5 actions, there might be 10, there might be 20. There will be people that will be invited, just like people were invited to lead a sector, will be invited to lead an action and join an action. And so keep that in mind, and we'll help you to understand, once we understand how we really want to do this, that then you may be in victim services, that's an action. Or it could be prevention, working in the schools, that could be an action. It could be a number of things that we will unpack during that time, and then we will be saying to you all, do you want to join the next phase? That's going to be the heavy lifting. That's going to be the hard part, because action is a whole lot harder than just learning. Just learning. And then we will talk about how we're transitioning from where we've been into that action plan. So I wanted to give you an update today in regards to what you've been doing and the effectiveness of it. And next month we'll come back with more detail on where do we go from here. Any questions? Okay. Thank you all very much for helping us get to this place, and we'll see you next month.